I've always been drawn to the far north. Pristine nature, an escape from civilization. Almost like being on another planet. At least, that's what I thought.
Can you come and help me out for just a second here? Ah, this is horrible, man. You see, you're becoming a plastic archaeologist. It's just horrible. The whole Earth is just soaked with it. It's just these layers.
What is that?
Of different generations. If you would just figure out how much plastic there is just along this little coastline, it's heartbreaking, man. It's everywhere. This looks thick.
And now I'm here, helping an Inuit pick up garbage on a deserted island in the Arctic Ocean. And not just a little, a lot.
To drag this across an entire island kind of helps. Yeah, lots of shit. This one. So heavy too. Look at how the color of it is. I don't want to touch it. This looks like it's from the UK. This bucket, it says "Ahoy, baby," and that's not a very Norwegian expression. It looks like it's been in the ocean for a very long time too. Yeah, at least we're gonna throw it out now.
Okay, it's running.
Es läuft. Mein Name ist Steffen Krones.
My name's Steffen Krones. I'm a filmmaker from Dresden. Most of my work has been in advertising. These jobs have taken me around the globe, including to Lofoten in Arctic Norway, which is where I got to know Chris Lewis Jensen. He's a local, and we worked together on a film. We hit it off right away. One day, he took me kayaking. We paddled to an island in the middle of the Arctic Ocean. It's inaccessible by foot. I think we've all seen pictures of polluted beaches before, but so much plastic waste in the Arctic? I had no idea.
Everything in Norway is written in Norwegian.
Eines der Dinge, die mich nicht mehr
And there was
losgelassen
even a
hat,
German beer
war eine deutsche
bottle
Bierflasche.
in the middle of the Arctic.
Mitten in der Arktis.
And now, when I walk through the streets in Germany again, I see garbage everywhere. It's like something changed. I didn't notice it before, and it makes me crazy. Because I don't want the garbage to end up in the Arctic. But how likely is it? To end up in the Arctic, the garbage would have to drift downstream about 600 kilometers to Hamburg, and from there to the North Sea, then the Atlantic. In the end, a piece of plastic would have to have traveled over 2,500 kilometers to end up near Chris in the Arctic. So I started doing research.
Recherchieren.
Up north, in here, then out there. From down here. Of course, it'd be really wild if it did come from the Eastern Current.
If I release a bottle in the German river Elbe or across the coastline, could it end up in the Arctic?
If you release a bottle on the German coastline and it stays afloat, the chances that it ends up in the Arctic, I think, would be 95%. I am Eric van Sebeel, and I'm a climate physicist and oceanographer here at Utrecht University. Now, what happens to a piece of plastic or something that you throw in the ocean is slightly more complicated. A piece of plastic can also sink to the seafloor, it can also end up on the beach, so there's ample of opportunity for a piece of plastic to not end up in the Arctic but get stuck. And unfortunately, we don't have good enough simulations and models and theory yet to exactly calculate what the probability is in reality of something to go from Germany all the way into the Arctic. Because what we found out a few years ago is that the amount of plastic that is currently drifting at the surface of the ocean is probably less than 1% of all the plastic that has ever gone into the ocean. So 20 times more plastic enters the ocean in a single year than we can now account for at the surface of the ocean. 99% of all the plastic is probably missing. So the main aim now is to figure out where the plastic is.
And so I came up with the idea of simply taking a bottle, fitting it with a GPS transmitter, and watching what happened. But I needed help.
Also bin ich auf meinen Nachbarn zugegangen.
I asked my neighbour. I knew he was studying technical design at the Dresden University of Technology. His name is Paul Weiss. I thought, hey, he's a tinkerer and a real tech head. I'll ask him. His simplest idea was to build a 3D model, which I would then have printed. You can then just put the GPS tracker inside, seal and toss.
That's the idea, that's the plan, and now it's just a matter of trying it.
Ja, korrekt.
Here we are, down there. I think I'll walk.
Boah, bin ich aufgeregt.
Wow, I'm excited.
Okay, ready?
Okay, ready?
Ja, alles klar.
All right.
Okay, und
And 1,
1, 2
2,
und
3.
3.
Want to hear the bottle story?
Let's hear it.
Keine Ahnung, wo die Flasche sein soll hier.
No idea where the bottle's supposed to be. I'm still getting a GPS signal. I was right there at the spot, but the bottle's just not there.
Die Flasche ist einfach nicht da.
Sunk?
Das ist meine Vermutung.
I think so. Maybe it filled up and it's now underwater.
Well, I got a lot of rocks.
Dafür Haufen Müll. Genau.
Piles of garbage instead, right where my bottle's supposed to be. More garbage.
Mülleimer voll.
Full trash can. But do you know what I found?
What?
Here's another message in a bottle.
What?
I'll have to break it open.
Dude, you have a double.
Wo ist denn da der Anfang? Wie krass zieht er? Mülleimer kaputt.
Broken trash can.
Hey you, glad you found my message in a bottle. I drew this picture for you. My name's Carlo. I'm 5 years old and I live in Dresden. I would be very happy to get a letter from you. Sunny greetings, Carlo.
Carlo did a nice job.
Alles klar.
36 kilometers later, I realized that this is all more complicated than I thought. Our first drifter was a flop. But hey, at least I've got a new pen pal.
Also brauchten wir einen neuen Trip.
So we needed a new buoy,
Nicht sinken.
one that wouldn't sink.
Und
We also needed more battery power, solar maybe.
zum Beispiel durch Solar.
Then we can track them almost forever. That would be cool.
Das wäre cool.
Yes, the EP-68. It's unsinkable.
Unsinkbar.
Ah, crap.
See the water?
Schlecht.
That's bad.
Ich glaube, wir müssen
I
alles
think
noch
we have to
mal neu
redo it all.
I think if I am to explain myself, I would say my name is Christian. I'm 32-year-old now. I am half Greenlandic from my mother's side and half Danish, Norwegian from my father's side. And so I've always been very fascinated with the ocean, and that's the element that I feel at home in. My Greenlandic part from my mother's side is something that I only visited when I was little. The first time I remember I was there was baptism, but I only have fragments of memories. You know, in Greenland, if you walk just 100 meters, you're far from civilization. I never had that idea of moving to the Lofoten Islands. I had an idea of traveling all of Norway. After that month, I told my friends that I'm sorry, I'm going to stay here. And I had the toughest winter of my life, I think. My car broke down, and I had no money. The only job I could get was at a fish factory here. I was living 10 kilometers from it. We started at 5:30 in the morning. It's the middle of the polar winter, just a horrible weather for 3 months. And I used that whole summer just being with friends and bicycling and hiking and kayaking, and I had to borrow equipment from people that still says like, Christian, now you have to stop asking us to borrow your kayak. Just take it, you know, like that's the thing about kayaking. Some people say they have a great experience paddling, but for me, the first formative years of kayaking, I had this sensation of this is what I'm born to do. This is who I am, and this is what I want to do.
Bist du gespannt?
Excited.
Schon. Pass auf. Hat sich ein bisschen was getan.
It's changed a bit.
Sieht doch ganz anders aus jetzt.
It's different now.
Wo fange ich an?
Where do I start? Do you know my friend Jonas? I study with him. He works at the plastic smithy.
Die recyceln Plastik.
It's a group that recycles plastic. They sort and shred plastic waste.
Eigener Muskelkraft.
It can then be melted down again and recast.
In eine neue Form reingießen. Und da habe ich mir diese Ringe
And that's where I came up with these rings.
die ganze Form halten.
The rings are supposed to support the whole structure,
Plastik.
and we only use a very small amount of plastic. And we use recycled plastic. So it's basically plastic neutral,
Plastikneutral.
which is nice,
Schön, weil das Baumaterial.
because you can find it right here in nature.
Nice, now we have all this garbage.
Jetzt hast du den zu Hause, ne?
You have it all at home.
Zwischen den Ringen, diese
And between the
Anordnung,
rings,
diese Scheiben
you
hier,
see
das
these
wird
discs.
draufschreiben. Super nachhaltig.
We use cork. They're super sustainable, with super buoyancy. It is, however, a bit hard to say how much weight it can carry, and for how long, because even cork absorbs water at some point.
Mit Wasser voll.
Maybe it floats deeper now or something.
Here's the buoy.
Yeah.
And it was completely underwater. A total of 80 kilometers within 3 months.
Von 3 Monaten.
Okay, nochmal zurück.
And on top of that, our tracker, it's definitely waterproof and lasts about a year. I'd say 300 days, something like that.
Tage sowas um den Dreh.
We eventually learned that the river can carry both our buoy and trash a long way, especially when running high. Paul's new buoy allowed us to continually adjust the prototype and fix problems. Depending on the river levels, our prototypes took around 3 months to cover 80 kilometers, with several breaks along the way.
Ja, liegt auf jeden Fall im Niedrigwasser.
It's definitely because of the low water levels. The way it's positioned, you can tell it'll probably be carried away again when the levels rise.
Sieht ziemlich gut aus.
That looks pretty good. We decided to build several buoys and then set them out along the Elbe every 100 kilometers so that their paths could overlap.
Ja gut, aber lass jetzt mal
Let's get started. It's now 12:30 and we have to finish today.
fertig werden. Ich fange schon
I'll
mal
start, okay?
an, oder?
Whoa!
Mann.
Wow.
Jo.
Works, right?
Lasering.
Das werden die Cover.
These will be the covers with information, like our contact details and the names of the buoy sponsors. Unfortunately, the weather's a bit bad, and we're a bit short on time.
Knapp an Zeit.
15 minutes later,
Noch verdurstet.
Unsere Form ist wieder kaputt.
Kurz nach 7 und wir müssen heute...
It's a little after 7 and we really need to get this done today. Want to help?
Geil.
Typ. Ah, da kommt der Captain.
here's the captain.
Und...
And the guest of honor.
Dabei natürlich nicht fehlen, ne?
Hello.
Na,
Hey, Carlo!
Hello, Carlo.
schau mal.
Look, Stefan has already tested the boat.
I've got the rope.
Ready?
Right?
Yep.
So,
You're the captain. You have to tell Stefan what to do.
jetzt drücken.
So, Carlo.
Carlo, we're ready.
Jetzt ist es soweit.
Drop the
Jetzt musst du
buoy.
die Boje aussetzen.
And
Und
yes!
Floating.
stopp. Haben wir richtig
We
gut
did
gemacht.
well, bosun.
Bootsmann. Dann fahren wir flussabwärts.
Then we go downstream and put one out every 80 to 100 kilometers so that their routes overlap.
Wege sich dann ergänzen und wir ein bisschen
And then we
Zeit
wait.
sparen. Und ja, dann schauen wir mal, was passiert.
The project started with the growing scientific interest in the environmental problem of marine litter. At some point, you just can't ignore it anymore.
I'm Rosanna Schöneich-Argent.
I'm a marine biologist. I don't have my doctorate quite yet, but I think when the film is finished, I will. Of course, we found out a lot. But as is always the case in science, for every question answered, 3 new questions arise. The main findings are that garbage does indeed travel along the North Sea's main currents. But what we also found out is that garbage is very susceptible to wind. We release timber buoys a total of 3 times a year. So 63,400 timber buoys were released in the North Sea, in the tributaries, and offshore. The response rate is a little over 40%, actually 43%. From the direction of the current, we know that waste is basically driven into the German Bay, and then more or less along the coast of Schleswig-Holstein and Denmark to the north, and then along the Norwegian coastline out into the Arctic. But this coastline is not so heavily populated. That means with all these small islands there, I think there will be a lot. If your boys really make it, not just to Denmark but further, it may be that they land somewhere here along the Swedish coast even, or that they then go out again with the tide, and then drift out along the coast of Norway towards the Arctic.
We still have an hour, right?
Yeah, another hour.
Ich glaube fest daran, dass wir diese Aufgabe bestehen, wenn wirklich alle Bürgerinnen und Bürger sie als ihre Aufgabe begreifen. Deswegen lassen Sie mich sagen, es ist ernst.
Der Corona-Krise.
COVID-19
has now overtaken China in total coronavirus deaths.
situation under control.
Another ambulance.
We wanted to talk to you about the flight to Norway, what we want to do, whether we want to rebook it, move it forward.
Haben wir da schon Termine?
Do we have dates?
We are just allowed to go on the streets on the very necessary things, just like getting groceries.
But it's also just a little bit weird, you know, you go out the door and it feels like you're in this dystopian movie.
Warum? Ich weiß es nicht.
2 years of work and one last-minute film shoot with Chris before he moves south to study. And suddenly, the world comes to a standstill.
It's too late now. The thing is, you'd have to quarantine for 14 days if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, so like I've been trying and looking into the government. It looks difficult to get you to Norway right now. The whole country is kind of locked in, and the only thing moving between borders is plastic and our drifter.
There's your man. His name is Wyatt. He's a mastiff. He rescued it from the water. Now it's going back. All right. Nice to meet you. I think it's funny. Right, Wyatt?
Nicht Wyatt?
Home?
Nach Hause?
Dinner?
Armbrot?
Okay, bye.
Okay, tschüss.
We found this boy from Stefan.
Throwing it back.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Stefan.
Hi, Stefan. I just sent Marie the link.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Hannah, and this is my sister Marie. And we are from Hamburg. And we founded Oaklyn together with our sister Lina. It's a non-profit company.
We started doing litter cleanups with friends and family last year. And it grew really quickly and a lot of people joined. And now we do it regularly.
Yes, that was right at the beginning of the lockdown. We got a call that we should throw the boy back in the water in Cuxhaven. And that was super exciting.
Yes, and we went there and then we watched the currents a little bit first. We got some advice so that I knew exactly where to throw it in. Go for it.
Very good.
A few meters.
Alles klar, danke.
All right, thanks. Bye.
I found this in the Atlantic Ocean 5 or 6 years ago. You can't even tell what it was. It's actually the process of microplastic formation. All these little crumbs that we see here, they used to be pieces of these larger yellow pieces. This was actually just sitting around in my house. I've only moved it a few times and it's still decomposing. And that's basically what happens in the environment, that these larger objects continue to decompose until they become microplastics. My name is Dr. Lars Guttorp. I'm a marine biologist at the Alfred Wegener Institute in Bremerhaven. Basically, I study the reactions of marine animals and ecosystems to a changing environment. And these changes can be natural, but they can also be caused by humans, such as climate change or the pollution. Every plastic object is more or less unique, and there is this variety of animals that are sensitive and react in many different ways to the plastic. The effects are basically as diverse as the animal world itself. What we often observe in many animals is that microplastics in the tissues trigger oxidative stress. This can damage the genetic material and can also damage the fats that are necessary, for example, to build cell membranes. Proteins can also be attacked, creating a sort of inflammation. We are here on Heike, a research vessel from the Alfred Wegener Institute for Polar and Marine Research. I will now launch the buoys.
Got it. Yeah.
Ich bin eigentlich ganz guter Dinge.
I'm actually pretty optimistic that they'll start moving again when conditions change.
Gegebenheiten ändern.
The tides, the wind, I don't know.
Keine Ahnung.
And then they'll start floating.
Dann schwimmen die wieder los.
It was the same there.
War ja da jetzt genauso.
There was a lot of garbage around it.
Der wird ja nicht ewig da
I don't
bleiben.
think it'll stay there forever.
Der will ja
It's heading north.
den Norden.
Look here, garbage-wise.
Alter. Komm mal. Das vom Frühstück, Mann.
And before breakfast.
Full garbage cans afterwards.
Crazy.
When you visit them, when they get stuck, you find a lot of garbage. You find a lot of trash everywhere.
Flaschen.
Bottles everywhere, crackling even.
They are almost like a finder. They're like garbage finder.
Yeah, they will show you the hotspots where the debris is being collected.
Jetzt ist die Natur schon. Plastik hat.
They're now moving in the river.
Well, what they actually do in the river is really interesting. Usually they have a little journey around like maybe 10 hours. But it's interesting, on some point they're stuck there for like a couple of days. And then out of nowhere, they start moving again. Down here, we threw it in. And then actually when we threw the drifter in, it just went around, along the curve, and then it got stuck there for a couple of days. Maybe even 3 or 4. Then it went further to this point. Oh, 1 second. Got stuck again. And then I think yesterday, or the day before, it moved again, and then it went all the way up here.
It's a very interesting adventure, man, to go and see these things.
Yeah.
Because of course someone could tell you this, but you don't really learn it until you really see it like that.
Hier ist ein Haufen Schmodder angespült worden.
It was washed up in a pile of mud, covered all over. It's really a dump here.
Von wann ist die?
When's this from?
Die ist von
2009.
Crazy.
So you could tell it might stay there for like even 10 years or whatever, but as soon as there's a lot of water, it just gets taken away. Because what's 10 years of a plastic lifetime? That's just like waiting 1 month in human lifetime or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's nothing. It doesn't degrade even.
My name is Melanie Bergman.
I'm a deep sea researcher on marine litter and climate change in the Arctic.
Dem Klimawandel in der Arktis. Das Alfred Wegener Institut betreibt seit
The Alfred Wegener Institute has had the Hausgarten Deep Sea Observatory since 1999, specifically to track the effects of climate change. This includes towed-in camera systems, which are dragged 1.5 meters above the seabed, along the same route every year. And we've noticed that we're seeing more and more rubbish on the seabed, and we took a detailed look at various stations, thousands of images, and found that the amount of trash increased 7-fold between 2004 and 2017. What we see is just the tip of the iceberg. We have also started to quantify microplastics and found enormous amounts. At one station, there were 13,000 particles per kilogram of sediment, and that exceeded anything we had previously imagined.
It's like extreme.
amazing day. I cannot do this.
I got some interesting news. One has landed in Norway, my friend.
No way!
Yes. Yes. If I remember it right, you told me that you are studying close to Oslo or in Oslo, right?
Very close to 2 hours from Oslo.
I mean, it's not in the Arctic yet, but it's pretty close to where you live, man.
This is amazing. This is amazing.
You guys know it's really cold when seawater freezes, right? This is a testament to the coldness of today.
Yeah.
So, we're kind of right at the spot. Looking at lots and lots of plastics. Filled with trash. Malaysia.
Island, but it was pretty obvious when we got there that that's the place where all the plastic accumulates for sure, man. It was tons. It was a lot. We were like struggling going through these mussels, these shells. There was a lot of different materials, debris.
How crazy is that? Look at that guy.
He was all the way.
From Dresden til dieser Flaskepost.
It is wrecked, man. It is just destroyed on the upper side. So
It also really proves, because I'm right now writing on the concept of drifting plastics and their ability to host invasive species. You know that whenever it drifts in the ocean, it can get a layer of microbes on it. This is exactly the problem, like how it travels, and some of the plastic will then continue along the coastlines and then go north.
Even if some buoys were still moving, it was clear that German garbage was drifting all the way to Norway. It just took much longer than expected.
Okay.
yeah, okay, that's good.
So this is the animation that we got so far.
Okay, I look forward to it. Oh wow, and this one, oh, it almost made it.
Oh yeah, it's over there. But it's still moving, right? Here?
Oh yeah.
So I feel like those two.
Now here it stops for you, but in reality, probably what happened is that tiny bits broke off, and they could have washed back. They can slowly, step by step, every time becoming smaller and smaller, and that's how we get microplastic in the Arctic.
We found over 10,000 particles of microplastic per litre of melted sea ice. This shows that airborne microplastic goes everywhere on our planet.
And we scientists are relatively united in our opinion that we will no longer be able to get it out, that most of the plastic that is now in the oceans will remain there. Much of the large amount of waste will break down into microplastics, but we won't really get it out, especially not if it is the size of microplastics.
Ja, ich habe schon Sorgen. Also
Yes, I am worried. A study last year showed, for example, that microplastics even pass from the mother to not yet born fetuses via the placenta.
Und ich finde das schon beunruhigende Vorstellung.
And it's disturbing that children are exposed to it before they are even born.
Bevor sie überhaupt zur Welt.
And I wonder if this somehow impairs their development, changes it in some way.
Beeinträchtigt, ja, verändert in irgendeiner Form.
Müll betrifft jeden.
Garbage affects everyone. regardless of gender, political affiliation, age. Everybody produces garbage, and just because you took out the garbage bag or the garbage, it is not gone. What happens afterwards? What are the consequences for nature, for society, if we don't think about it?
Wenn wir uns da eben keine Gedanken drüber machen.
If you think about it, then it becomes clear very quickly that it is not only an environmental problem, but a social problem. We live in an economic system that is based on continuous growth, a constant increase in production. At some point, we have so much that we can no longer control it. And we're starting to see those effects. Something that seemed as infinite as the ocean, where we thought everything we threw in we'd never see again, is bringing all that material back to us now.
And that, I think, is the most important thing. The plastic is on top of all the other pressures that we put on the ocean. It's on top of the ocean warming, the ocean acidification, the ocean overfishing, the noise pollution, all of the other things that we're doing to the ecosystems in the ocean. It could very well be that the plastic is the drop that tips the bucket.
I have a new theory, and I'm just going to tell you.
Okay.
So there's a new gyre being made. It's a very serious one. You know, we have 5 plastic gyres around the world. There's now a 6th that's accumulating and won't really realize before in 5-10 years. But it's called the Barents Sea gyre. North of the Norway and Arctic waters, there'll be a big plastic gyre where most of the Gulf Stream will end up eventually.